Yes, I remember that guy.
You're right.
And I don't know, the neat thing, this is what's good. I'm calling the September 14th, 2021 special meeting of the Roswell City Council to order. Ms. Call, please call the roll.
Councillor Stubbs.
Here.
Councillor Roebuck.
Here.
Councillor Sanchez. Councillor Kennard. Here. Councillor Best.
Here.
Councillor Moore.
Here.
Councillor Lopez.
Present.
Councillor Oropesa.
Here.
Councillor Perry.
Here.
Councillor Foster.
Here.
Mayor Kintyre.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right. Councilor Moore.
Good evening. I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda for the September 14th, 2021 special city council meeting to include Resolution 21-57, authorizing the submittal of a revised 2023 to 2027 infrastructure capital improvement plan, ICIP.
The vote boxes, by the way, are not utilized, neither is a request to speak. So I have a motion by Councilor Moore and a second by Councilor Kennard. Any discussion or debate on the agenda? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll ask for a voice vote. Once again, the vote boxes are not functional, so please be clear. All those in favor of the agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, passes 10-0. First up is item number 2. Mr. Nebb, did you want to talk about this a little bit before I give him some instructions as well?
Yes, sir, I will do that. I'll take the moment now. So tonight we'll be looking at developing out a top 5 for the ICIP list, which is the capital improvement project list for the state of New Mexico. We are required to do this every year in order to seek ICIP legislative funding for these projects. In the front of the dais here is all of the projects that were taken through each of the standing committees. This list was generated based upon staff recommendation, but in my mind, I don't look at these projects as staff projects anymore, as they've went through one committee. These are, each of the committees are who has selected these projects to be on the list. With that, the difference from what we had last Thursday to now is that we did remove the city manager's recommended top 10. We separated the projects back out. So you'll see projects on here listed for $50,000 or whatever that dollar amount. We'll be here to help. The whole intent of this exercise, very simplified exercise, we will give each city councilor 10 stickers. We have 10 city councilors, so we'll do 10 stickers each. And you'll take your time to come up here and say which projects. So in my mind, there's not a bad project on this list. And so it is up to you to formulate which ones will we designate as the top 5. Also understand that the resolution will have the top 5 printed in it, and the remainder of these projects will go on the back side. So if there's any projects that you wish to have on there, that's where they end up going. Just in case the legislature doesn't agree with us on our top 5, they have the ability to talk about other projects. So we don't want to keep it too low on them. What Mr. Fuentes will do with the top 5 is that we develop out a one-page sheet as to how we will implement that project as well too. We'll give better descriptions of whatever projects you choose, and we will state whether or not we have matching money from the city, or if it's a infrastructure project, it may be money that our engineering will do to help do the design so that more of the legislative dollars goes to the capital. So very simplified process. I think the one thing that Councilor Perry had mentioned at the council meeting, it does change the debate, but I guess in my mind, all these projects are worthwhile. So it is really trying to get down to a top 5 so that staff can prepare those, because in the next week, I think in the next week, we'll have one meeting at Chavez County, or 2 weeks. We'll have a meeting at Chavez County in order to announce those projects. So Mr. Mayor, City Council, I'll stand for any questions.
All right, I have Councilor Best.
So
When it went through general services, we combined 37 through 39. I don't see that combined on the papers down here. Also, we combined 29, 27, and 26 together. So I'm assuming, which usually makes an ass out of me, I'm assuming if I stick a sticker on 27, 29 and 26 are going to come along for the ride?
Mayor, Counselor, those combinations were the combinations that I made at the council meeting. And so they weren't combined at general services. I don't think all 4 of those were combined. These combinations I made in order to bring that dollar amount up, because you don't want to waste one of your top 5 on a small dollar amount, make it a substantial number. So did you?
I beg to differ.
You combined them as well, so we think alike. Okay. Yes, if that was the decision of the committee, then we're good to go. So if
And
they
it
pick-
is,
if
it
they
is
pick
in
one
the
of the
minute.
items,
It is
if-
in the minutes, so if you
Okay,
need to
yes.
go back to the minutes.
That's how we will go back.
You need to go back because we combined those in general services because, like you said, they were low. We also did combined 45 and 46
Okay,
with the pool, scoreboards, and I believe the washer and dryers.
thank you.
So what you have combined on the paper is correct, but it was started in general services.
Sure.
You can take the credit, that's fine.
I appreciate that. What we'll do is we will make sure, we'll hit all the sheets and we'll make sure that they're identified as a combined project, so there's no confusion about picking one and meaning another. So can we have a marker that'll do that before as well too? Okay, we'll take care of that, Counselor.
Okay. Counselors, before we get into this, putting on the stickers, let me reiterate what the process is going to be. At this point, I will open it up for any discussion or debate before we start with the stickers, in case anyone wishes to add, like Counselor Best did, some clarification. Once the stickers begin, Ms. Call will call up 3 counselors initially, and as those counselors get finished placing their stickers, there's no rush, another counselor will be called up. The objective here is to not overwhelm or crowd the area in front, so that you will have an opportunity to place the stickers without imposition. Okay, well, I'll call on Councilor Perry as soon as I get finished here. Sorry, I'm writing down a note so I don't forget. So once you start, you will go ahead and put the stickers on. If you wish to remain down there and watch, that's fine. Once all the stickers have been placed, I will call for a 10-minute recess. Staff will then count the stickers and identify the top 5 and the second 5. So that will be for the purposes of the resolution. After we get that done, I will call on the Chair of Infrastructure to make a motion to adopt the top 5 as part of the resolution. Once there's a second, that is a matter for discussion, debate, and amendment. That can be done. Once we have done all of that, I will call for a vote to approve the resolution one way or the other. So, that being said, before we start, the first one to request to speak is Councilor Perry. Councilor Perry, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll start out by asking, what is the process if there's not a top 10? If there's only stickers put on 7 items or 8 items, what will the process then be to get to that top 10?
We actually only have 5 that we are sending up on the resolution. The second 5 is for staff's edification and possible use by the legislators if they so choose. But the resolution has 5 slots on it.
Okay, I apologize. I had just thought I understood you to say that the first 5 would go in as top 5 and then the other 5 to make that 10, but I apologize if I misunderstood that process. What is the process if there's a tie amongst 3 or 4 or whatever?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Perry, and City Council, if there is a tie within the top 5, we will run through a speed round right at the end and do one more round to make sure that we we can identify the top 5. Or I think what we did last year is that we just took a vote of the council. So
Yeah,
we'll
let's
do
just
that.
do a vote of the
We do the
council.
stickers one time, and then the second round, if we have a tie, the city council will do essentially, if you want to call it an amendment, we'll just do an amendment to whatever we're going to decide for that top 5. That actually moved a lot faster, I think, last year when we did that.
Yes, we'll do that.
Okay.
So there will be, in the motion to approve the resolution, the infrastructure chair will put in the top 5, then it would be subject to amendment.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I guess my next more of a statement would be I want to just highly encourage my fellow councilors as we go through this, to my knowledge, I don't know that we have anyone on the council that has significant engineering skills or IT skills or significant skills with wastewater or cemeteries or any of that thing. So I would like to highly encourage us that as we are considering these, that we recognize the years and years upon years of knowledge we have with city staff and with the advice of our city manager and assistant city manager in the list that we had just the other night. And I'd just like to highly encourage that we consider that as we're voting. That's more of a statement. My next statement would be, I guess, that at what point, or question would be, at what point tonight will the debate and discussion take place concerning each of these items on here?
Once the motion is made to adopt the resolution with the top 5, as gleamed from the sticker vote, that will be the time to make any statements and offer any amendments.
Okay, well, I guess then I really don't know what to say, except for to say that I think that really thwarts the purpose at the end of the day of rigorous debate and discussion, which I had heard from fellow counselor that we would be potentially able to have the ability to have this evening concerning the items that are on the ICIP. If I'm just putting my stickers on and counselor, all the other counselors put their stickers on, we're already making decisions of what we think's best without hearing from the others.
Counselor,
why things are. I'm sorry, can you not hear me?
No, I was just going to say, you can make a statement at this time, Counselor, on what you think the priorities are. You may share that with the council prior to the stickers. That is an option. You have the floor. So if you wish to present your particular thoughts on what should be the high priority, please go ahead and do so.
Well, before I do that, I would like to know from council if there's going to be anyone adding anything to it. There may be someone that's adding something to it that may cause me to rethink the way I am thinking this evening. At what point will that be taken?
As I call on counselors, they may choose to add something to the list. If that item gets votes, sufficient votes to make it to the top 5, it makes it to the top 5 or to the second 5. If it does not get the sticker votes, it will not make it into the top 5 or the second 5. But I will call on counselors as they indicate a desire to speak.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll yield so that at this time I do want to be able to speak before we start stickering the board or whatever. I'd like to hear if there's going to be any additions. I
Okay.
yield.
I have Counselor Best.
In my personal opinion, this has been through every committee. You've had a chance to go to every committee. I don't think anything should be added to the ICIP. I think it is unproductive for the rest of the council, for any counselor to step outside of the box and go straight to legislative. If we don't work as a team with the city, I think we need to stay as a team. That way it looks like we're all together. But we've had every opportunity in each committee meeting to add or take away. I don't think at this time, we need to add anything, my opinion.
All right, I have Counselors Roebuck, Foster, and Moore. Counselor Roebuck, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess in opposition to what I just heard, I think that there is a place and time to add things, particularly if they've been projects that have been on people's radars. And I am going to ask at this point if we would add back onto the ICIP something that was on the list last year and that we don't currently have a funding source for, which is the baseball complex. It's been well discussed by council. The council's even approved a location on it. We've already put some money into the infrastructure on it. It's a project that, while I agree with, is we don't want to add something willy-nilly kind of crazy that's been off that's not on anybody's radar. This is a project that's been on people's radar. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it was either overlooked or wasn't offered to the General Services Committee as an option. And for whatever reason, that committee didn't see fit to add at that point. But I think it at least deserves an opportunity, being that it was in our top 5 last year. It might have been our top 1 or 2 last year. And being as it doesn't have a funding source adequate to it, I would like to see that added to our options.
All right, how much dollar amount?
It was a $12 million project.
Mr. Mayor, Counselor, it was a $13 million
$13 million.
project, and we received $750,000 for this year, so I would suggest subtracting that from that. Part of the reason why I don't think it made it on the list was we're in the process of designing the site plan, but it will be done before legislative cycle. So the request, I would set it at just 12,
And that, I'm fine with
12.3.
that. I don't think that we would get it all anyway, but
Okay. Okay, Mr. Fuentes, can you go ahead and write that on the bottom of the next one there?
For what that project is, it'll go on the general service list, $12,300,000. And that'll cover the
Fantastic.
remainder of what we're at.
fantastic. And then just to, well, I'll go ahead and per Councilor Perry's request, I'll yield for now and make sure nobody else wants to add anything before we get into discussion on anything I support. So I yield.
Okay. I have Foster, Moore, and Oropesa. Counselor Foster, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. And I agree. This it wasn't that it wasn't presented at General Services, but we were having to limit down, and we had other projects, and I do think it should be on this list. It's just that we were trying to get it to 2 to 3 and keep that down, but it should be. The other thing that I wanted to push are number 63, the ARF firefighting training or the training facility. And I do see, we have it down as the facility, as per talking to staff, I do think that we need to probably pare down the language to the point where we're asking for the money to develop the plans and work on it. And so I'm not sure, I mean, the 2.5 million that we have that, I'm sure we don't have any hard figures on if that would build it or not. So I'm not sure. And that's, we have it up here, and I just wanted to talk to the counselors. This is a very good chance. We don't have a training facility in the state of New Mexico for our firefighters. We have to send them out of state. We got to hopefully figure out a way to sometimes plug them into Lubbock, sometimes plug them into College Station, but every firefighting. Every city that has an airport that has commercial flights have to send their firefighters to training somewhere. And nowhere in New Mexico do we have this. And so this is, I think, an excellent economic development tool for us. I'm not saying that if we get the money for it, we get it built and we build it, that we actually even have to run it. We can probably contract that out to somebody else. But I'm just saying that it is something that we needed for several years, and so my push for it, and maybe we should somewhere in the language on it put down design.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Counselor, we had discussed this. That 2.5 million is just a good guesstimate, and it's a few years old already. What we suggested before the meeting was to do a plan and essentially a design of what is this going to be. I will tell you that those planning, in order to hire somebody that can put that together, it'll run right around $150,000 in order to put together an initial plan, so you have a better idea of what this will cost and what it can do for you in the future. So I would suggest actually changing the language a little bit for a planning document and maybe bringing that number down. Or if you leave the number where it's at and you choose it, just know that the plan itself will take right around anywhere between $75,000 and $150,000.
Well, and my question though is I would probably, and I don't want to go against, I mean, your professional opinion, but normally it's 10%, isn't it?
But we don't know what this is going to cost. So it
Right.
can't be 10% of 2.5 because
Yeah.
we don't know what that number is.
Well, but that was a number that we developed about 3 years ago.
Right.
So we know it's not going to be 2.5. We know it's probably going to be more than that.
Yeah.
And so even 10% of that is 250,000, not is the 150,000.
Counselor,
So-
and I would go higher than lower.
Yeah, so I
whichever
would-
way you go, but I would suggest that because I don't believe we're going to get 2.5 million from the legislature on this. I would make it more manageable. So I would suggest that the counselor pick a number
Yeah.
to put in there that you're comfortable with, and if everybody can,
Well, I mean, I don't mind paring it down to $500,000.
Okay.
And then if they give us half of that, I think we might be able to get the design plan. But my whole thing is the design portion of it is the important. We've got to get that so that
It
we can
is,
really
correct.
start asking for real money. And, but,
I'm sorry, I was distracted.
no problem. So let's go, I would say, I mean, and it's down there on the board at 63. If we put it down at $500,000, but I do want to encourage our counselors that it is something that's very important. And I think it's important in many ways. It's important for our fire department. It's important for the state of New Mexico. So maybe we can get more funding from the state for it. And also the fact that it is economic development for the city of Roswell.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's change the amount on there and add the word design and plan, or what do you think would be appropriate?
Mr. Mayor, I believe that, yeah, calling it a design and a plan is fine, yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And what we'll do is we'll adjust that one. I will say that since this went through a committee and was decided that way, I would suggest that anybody on the council that disagrees with making the change, please say so now so that we can have that conversation. Otherwise, we'll just make the change and be done.
Any objection to this? Hearing none, so be it.
500,000.
All right. All right. You yield. All right. I have Counselor Moore and Counselor Oropesa. Counselor Moore, you have the floor.
Mayor and council, I'm struggling being here tonight. I felt like if any of us, didn't we all have time? Everybody was saying they didn't get a chance to discuss what they liked or what they didn't like. And I struggle with that because I attended plenty of meetings where we talked about what we liked and what we didn't like, why we wanted it and why we didn't want it, why they picked number one and we didn't want it number one. I went to plenty of meetings that happened, so I'm struggling with people saying that they weren't being heard. Now, I didn't go to all the meetings, but I went to several, and so I struggle with that. And like I said, I know that on the last meeting that we were late and nobody wanted to go to listen to all this conversation at that point, but I feel like I was struggling with asking why they need to know why I picked what I picked at first, honestly, because I was like, why do they need to know why I picked number 62, But Councilor Stubbs said something to me that, well, because we want to know, just kind of where you're coming from, what's going on or whatever. And I kind of thought about it, but I feel like if we make a choice, I don't, like Mary's tell me all the time, if you make a decision, you don't have to explain your decision to anybody. And so we shouldn't have to argue about what we want. And I don't plan on arguing all night about 10 things that's going to go on the list that everybody's going to see, and who knows, God knows what the legislator's going to pick anyway. So I would like us to get together and make a decision and not be here all night arguing and fussing about a list of 63 things that had been around for, I don't know, months, maybe a year, a long time. So, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. And I try to be quiet, but this really annoys me right now. I promise it does. Everybody's time is valuable, and everybody has something else to do. Everybody, we're not, not everybody works. A lot of those people out there just got off work, don't want to be here all night. And so I feel like if someone had a problem with what the list was, that could have been taken care of at last month's meetings. And so as I continue to, I think about what's important, I understand about my constituents, and somebody has said to me, it's just not about the people in my ward, so I'm looking over the list more again. But I felt like the 10 that you picked, I thought they kept telling us we pay you to make decisions. Or the city, I don't know, I don't pay you nothing because I don't got no money. But, the city pays you to make the hard decisions. So I don't understand the big fight about what you picked about the top 10. And just because I didn't bring my other paper and I don't know what they were, so now I got to pick my own 10. But to maybe rethink about it, but I just think this really was an unnecessary, this is some unnecessariness. And I like just to, say what we need to say and don't keep arguing about what somebody's choice is because you don't like their choice, and let's keep it moving. I yield.
All right, thank you. I have Counselor Oropesa and Counselor Perry. Counselor Oropesa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Neb, can you remind me about the tennis courts? I know I brought it up, and you gave me an answer,
Yes, sir.
something to the effect that it's going to be funded through some other source.
And of course, you remember the conversation on the special council meeting on the budget and the
Right.
amendments that were put out there. What we did from there is we went back and Mr. Nahar called in a consultant that analyzes the condition of the courts and everything. So we do have a proposal from that consultant. There's 3 options on there. This list will be going to General Service at their next meeting to consider the selection of what our recommendation is on the options. So the options range from about $170,000 up to $512,000, depending on what we do. There's 3 of them. We're going to provide our recommendation to do the repairs to the facility, and actually, just so everybody knows, we'll be recommending the $170,000 version. That money, we will also ask for a budget amendment in the recreation fund, just like the budget amendment that was at the council, at the special meeting, to cover the cost of that. So we will amend the budget by that amount. The challenge we had with that project before is that we couldn't get a clear number or a clear definition of what the scope of the project was. We had old information, we had all that. That has all been updated. We are estimating that the 4 courts that need the mesh, we will put the mesh on. We will restripe all 6 courts. We will include pickleball lines as well as the tennis courts. The only trouble with pickleball lines on the tennis court is the color of the line. It's all okay according to the Tennis Association. We will also plan on resurfacing the basketball court at that time, which is where that $170,000 comes from. So they will all get a new face at that point in time. It'll go to General Services, so at that point in time, it's in the council's hands to determine if it moves forward, and 2, if you're going to make the budget amendment to cover the cost of that.
Okay. Well, let me just clarify,
Certainly.
you said it's going to go to General Services to determine if it goes forward. My understanding, and this is the difference that I've had with the council, is regardless of whether it is approved or not, it's still going to come to full council. Is that not correct?
It can. The challenge I have is that it's over my ability to just move it forward. So it really needs to move forward based upon what the city council chooses to do. Again, if General Services does something different, there is a mechanism within the agenda for city councilors to place something on the agenda, so it can move forward anyway. I don't want to speak for the city council. I want to make sure that you guys do your work because I have enough of my own.
Yeah,
And
but
so-
I'm talking about not the full city council in general, but the committees. When I brought it up, I was told that it didn't matter whether it was voted down or not because it would be forwarded to the full council anyway. Am I
Yeah.
misunderstanding?
Mayor, Councilor, I would say that the rules of order don't clarify that it goes forward with or without a decision of the committee. It can. The problem, the problem is that it's a maybe as to how to go there. I believe that this was important enough to some city councilors that this will go forward, and unless I'll let Mr. Parker explain a little bit more on the rules of order.
Let me jump in here. My perception on this is that the committee will decide among the options. Mr. Nebb has said there's 3 options. General Services will meet and make a recommendation of one of them to the entire council. The entire council will take it up, but the committee will be responsible for identifying a primary pick.
And Mr. Mayor, I believe that the question from the councilor is, what if General Services decide it doesn't go forward? If they vote it down, does it still come forward?
Let's see what happens in General Services.
Well, and
The option exists that I can put things on the agenda or 5 counselors.
Yeah.
But let's let General Services do its job. And if it comes up with a different recommendation than 170, so be it, and then the council will decide.
I guess I believe it'll come out of committee and go to city council. So,
You still have
Okay,
the floor.
I'll argue that point later. But one of the things that I didn't see is several months ago, Police Chief Smith came in and made a presentation on the Police Academy. I wonder if they requested any money. I don't know if they need a facility or anything like that, because I didn't see it here.
yeah. And I would say that right now with the Police Academy, we're still waiting for approval that we can even hold one. So there was, we believe that we have to have that approval first at the state level that we can have a police academy prior to moving forward with the need of space. We actually have temporary space. We will not need to build a new building to do a police academy at this
Okay.
time. We have enough space either at the university, up here in our city buildings as well too. We'll be able to function until that, and I'm getting the affirmative as well too. It did not make it on this list because we wanted to make sure that we had the blessing that we were allowed to do that to move it forward.
And so with that, let me go on. I think when all of us ran this last time, I think one of the main things that the public requested that we take care of, and that was streets. And I know we only have 1 or 2 projects here, which I'm going to support, number 18. But I just want to remind the council that this item, streets in particular, were the number 1 issue, or was the number 1 issue when we were running. And I know that I still get calls on Washington Street, stating that it is so bad. And I know that number 18 is addressing Washington Street. And the other one that I've been trying to put on the top 5 for the last couple of years is the well at the cemetery. And they've opened up several sections already, in addition to what it was 4 or 5 years ago. And so, and they also need the irrigation, and this goes to the same thing that Councilor Best was addressing, the tying of 2 items, because this one ties 30, let me see, item 29 and 27 together, which it talks about replacing the irrigation system and installing a water well. And those are the 2 items that I'm going to be supporting.
Certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. I have Counselor Perry and then Counselor Roebuck, and that exhausts my list. Counselor Perry, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have the ability of seeing the large list in front of everyone this evening. I am still working this evening. I had to appear before the city council here in Artesia for rezoning for our church down here. So I'm here in my office for the rest of the evening. Since I cannot see, my question is, are items 27 and 29 on the list? Are they on there separately? Are items 37, 38, and 39 listed separately? And are items 45 and 46 listed separately, or are those items combined into three different items?
Mr. Fuentes, you want to respond to that for the purposes? There, you go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Councilor Perry, those items have been requested to be combined. I will be making a bracket on those numbers so that any vote on any of those items will be a vote for both of those items combined.
Okay, I know Councilor Best was sharing some of that, and Councilor Pesa mentioned some of that as well, but I could not understand as whether or not those changes were going to be made, and if indeed those were the items. Are there any other items that are listed that are now going to be combined?
Mr. Neb, anything else that need to be combined?
No, Mr. Mayor, Council, I believe Councilor Best covered everything that should be combined. If there's anything else that wishes to be combined, we'll walk through that as it goes. And so I think once Mr. Fuentes makes the adjustments to the ones that have already been announced, we should be good for those combinations.
Okay, Counselor,
Okay,
you have the floor.
My next question would be for, I guess, either Manager Neb or for Mr. Fuentes. Remind me how much we have put in from our general this last year in the budget for streets.
Yes, sir. Thank you. For this year's budget, this 21-22 year budget, we have $13 million going into streets. And so this list here is, of course, legislative dollars for those. So, but we have 13 million of our own money going into streets this year alone.
Yes. Thank you. And historically, and I apologize, and Mr. Neb, I am certainly sorry for putting you on the spot on this, or Mr. Fuentes, and if the answer is we don't know, that's okay too. But do we have an estimate as historically in the last several years what we've been putting towards street in our budget?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I'm actually good at hand grenade firing, so I'm going to get in the ballpark. I won't be able to give you the absolute numbers, but in previous years we have ranged between 7 to 9 million. I think the year previous to this 13 million, we were at 9 million, and then I think the year previous to that was 7.
Okay, so I guess I say all that to say this. 2 cycles ago we were at 7 million, even in a hard year. Because we heard the voters, we heard there was a need to be working on streets and getting streets back where they need to be. We got it up to 9, even in a hard year of us not knowing where we were going to be. We've gone from 9 to 13. That's an extra 4. On top of that is a significant jump from where we were 2 years ago, almost double. I think that we're going to find as much confidence as I have in the abilities of Mr. Nahar and his folks. I think it's going to. They're going to be working very hard to get this 13 million into our streets. So I would just say that though I do agree with Councilor Orpesa and others that streets absolutely need to be on our ICIP for those considerations. Some of that probably won't come up until the end of the cycle when the state sees that they've got extra funding left over, or they've got funding from this or that, like Mr. Nahar in the past has been able to do a cost match with them, or something, or a cost share with them in projects. Though I see the need to have them on there, I'm not confident at this time that those should be in a top priority. We need to see things that we are not able to fund right now in our budget, since streets is getting such a significant chunk right now. I yield.
All right, I have Counselor Roebuck and then Counselor Lopez. Counselor Roebuck, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to advocate for, there's a $5 million for the airport. I'm not going to ask Mr. Stark because I already know the answer, but I think it's been decades since we've had empty hangars out there. And in order to maintain planes, we need hangars, and by maintaining planes, we bring jobs here. And so I think any investment we can put into the airport is important. I would hope and that we would express as we put that request forward, assuming if it gets onto our top 5 or even as part of the list, that we make clear that our most important and urgent need is hangars, upgrades, new hangars, so we can service more airplanes. That is the urgent need at the airport, and I would encourage the other councilors to support that. I think it would be a strong sign to the legislators if we match the county in asking for the $5 million, but certainly if they decide to give us $5 million, we don't want it to go through the county again, so we better put it on our ICIP list. I yield.
All right, that leaves Councilor Lopez, and I exhaust my list. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just going back on combining line items, I believe in Infrastructure Committee, we wanted to combine items 58, 59, and 60. Is that correct? Is that any better? Sorry.
Yeah. that's
I
much
believe the
better.
line items for, when we discussed in infrastructure, we wanted to combine 58, 59, and 60.
Okay. All right, Mr. Fuentes, can we do that? All right. Okay.
Is that correct? Okay. And just going back on streets, I believe, I just started, and my first earful I got was because of the streets. But just want to make sure, I think we heard in another meeting that Hobbs Street is being considered with the money that we have funded this year, and also Washington south of Alameda, because that's when it starts getting bad. Is that somewhere in a project for this year, or do we even know yet?
I'm not sure which ones are on the list. I know Mr. Nahar sleeps with the list. So,
The list is under my pillow. Okay, so Hobbs is not on the list anywhere. He'll be a contender for next year. It's on the ICIP list now. That's item number 19. Washington, we're going to have a pre-con for that project on Monday the 20th, and that portion will be Alameda to McGaffey. And item 18 ties Alameda to 8th Street, which is why 18 is why I'm politicking for. Thank you for letting me have this time to speak.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I asked. I mean, Hobbs Street, I'm not sure how many people actually travel that don't live on the south side, travel Hobbs Street. Just want to make sure that we do know that it needs to be done. And
No, it's on the list. So typically a project goes on the ICIP,
Yeah.
and it goes to that round, counselor, and if it's not getting funded, then I try to get it on our general budget.
Okay. Thank you for the info.
Yes.
Councilor, you still have the floor.
Sorry, I yield.
Okay. Councilor Pesa, and that exhausts my list. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to address some of the comments that Councilor Perry made, and I certainly appreciate the information that he has put out. However, I believe that if we had taken care of the streets way back when, up to now, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in. And if you remember the study that was done, a couple of weeks, a year ago, I don't remember exactly when, the outcome of that study, or the recommendation of the study, was that the city should be spending like $16 million per year for 5 years, I believe is what the recommendation stated. And so the way I see it is, the more that you can get from money from the state, the more we can address the streets, and not because we just have $13 million already allocated for the streets, does that mean that we're going to be able to take care of all the street issues that we have? So from that standpoint, I believe it's important that we get as many street projects as possible from capital outlay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I have Counselor Foster. Counselor Foster, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I did want to push for one more project that just to let everybody know, I am glad we added the Cielo Grande. One of the reasons we didn't add it on because we were trying to narrow it, general services, and we wanted to push, and now I've lost it, sorry, was Stiles Field. We wanted to, there it is, replace the entire irrigation system and some playground equipment because it needed some love too, and just wanted to let the council know that and push it just a little bit. Thank you, Mayor.
I have Counselor Perry wishing to speak again. Counselor Perry, you have the floor for vigorous debate.
Okay, I'm not rather confident I understand what you meant by that statement, Mr. Mayor, but I will continue. I just wanted to mention a couple of items on here. Just for the record, I agree 100% with Councilor Orpesa. Streets have got to be done. Top priority. I understand. I recognize that. There was an old movie years ago, Brewster's Millions, and that talked. If you remember the plot of that movie, it's not a matter of just putting money towards it. We've got to be able to do it in the amount of time to be able to finish it in as well. That's my concern. It's not that the streets do not need to be done. Do we have the manpower? Do we have the ability to do $16 million, $20 million, $30 million worth of projects a year? Especially with everything going on throughout the rest of the state, especially in southeast New Mexico, with so many of those services being utilized to do the roads down there between Hobbs and Carlsbad and those areas. With that just being said, so I look at the list. I just wanted to reiterate that I think that the airport, the $5 million needs significant consideration. Also, the water well and irrigation system at the cemetery, significant consideration. Those are two things that I think we need to consider. And I don't know if the county's going to be successful with $5 million or not. It'd be great if we had 10. I have no idea what's going to happen there, but I just know that investment in our airport is very important. I yield.
All right, I exhaust my list. At this point, we will begin placing stickers. Ms. Call will call the first three counselors down from the randomly generated list. As soon as a counselor becomes complete or finishes, she will call additional names. So, do you place the stickers where you see fit? Yes, okay. Thank you, Councilor Roebuck. Stay in the room so we make sure and maintain quorum. We will have a recess after we get done with the stickers. All right, Ms. Call out the first three.
Mr. Mayor, before I do that, I would like to ask that since we're going to try to keep a good flow on this, counselors, when you have finished placing all your stickers, if you would let me know so I could call the next one, please. Okay. Are we
Perfect.
ready? The first three, counselors Sanchez, Kennard, Stubbs.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Sanchez had to step out, so I'd go to the next one and bring him back up.
Okay.
Counselor Moore. Counselor Sanchez? Counselor Roebuck? Counselor Perry?
Staff and counselors, Counselor Perry's stickers will be placed by Mr. Fuentes, is that correct? Okay, so since Counselor Perry is participating by GoToMeeting, he is communicating with Mr. Fuentes, and he will be placing the stickers for Counselor Perry.
Counselor Lopez? Counselor Best. Counselor Oropesa. Counselor Foster.
All right, Ms. Call? I have all the counselors have completed placing stickers down. I have 6:33. Council, at this time, we'll take a 10-minute recess while staff tallies
Yes, sir.
the stickers. We will reconvene at 6:43. We are in recess. 10. You can try. Okay. 2 minutes, 2-minute warning, counselors, 2 minutes.
So, yeah, that's the game I'm playing. I really believe in challenging right now. Very hot. So Travis is all into it. All right, I just want to also come back. Right, no, and I also want to make sure that we do, we don't need a police officer back here. Really, but we'll walk through that, but I need to, we just got the numbers.
It's 6:44. I'm calling the special city council meeting of September 14th back into session. Counselor Roebuck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2157, authorizing submittal of revised 2023 through 27 infrastructure capital improvements plan to include the following top five. Number one, airport improvements, which is number 67. Number two, Washington Millfield, which is 18 on our list. Number three, the airport fire training facility design, which is number 63 on our list. Number four, cemetery irrigation, which is number 27 on our list. And number five, fire SCBA equipment, which is number 52 on our list.
I have a motion by Counselor Roebuck and a second by Counselor Foster to approve Resolution 21-57. With the ICIP list as presented, items previously listed as 67 is now number 1, 18 is 2, 63 is 3, 27 is 4, 52 is 5. On the motion to approve Resolution 2157 as presented. Discussion, debate. Hang on, I have Counselor Perry. Counselor, you have the floor.
I'm just trying to understand, are Our top five, of course, we know that we're required to put this together. What is the importance of it being top five?
I'm sorry, what is your question again?
What is the importance of top five? Because I made my votes as the others do, but as per the meeting that we had in finance, our desire was to see, at least that was the will of the committee members at that time, to hope to see that 5 million for the airport to be in the top 10, but did not see it fruitful to be in the top 5. So now we have this, and I'm just wanting to understand before I vote as to what is the criticalness of top 5.
The top 5 is what will be presented to the legislature as worded in the resolution.
And Mr. Mayor, City Council, Councilor Perry, the top 5, what staff will do with the top 5 is we will develop out a more detailed one-sheet document that says what this project is and what it's going to go for. This is what will be presented to the legislative group through the COG for that. And please note that all the other projects will be attached to this resolution as an exhibit, so that if the legislature does not agree with our top 5, they can put money to any one of the other projects that are on the list.
Oh, by the way, been pointed out to me, I misspoke on item number 1. It is previously listed as item 61. So.
Does that help, Counselor?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm just trying to look on this list here. If somebody can please help me once again. Somebody has said item number 67. What is item 67?
No, that was an error, Counselor. It is item 61 is item number 1.
Okay, so 61 is the Roswell Air Center, 5 million. And then item number 18 is Washington Millfield.
Correct?
I'm having to write this all out. In the amount of 740,000. And then I've got item 63. Okay, that's the 202.5. Well, actually, that's been, yes. And then 74. Somebody remind me what 74 is?
There's no 74. 27
Oh, that's
is item number 4.
27.
Yes.
Okay.
Which includes item
27 is-
29.
Okay. Okay, so that's cemetery. And then 52 is the SCBA's. Okay. Well, I guess that all I would say is this, that I want to caution us, though I even voted for some of these because I wanted to make sure and see that these were, and thank you, Councilor Foster, sending that to me. I appreciate that. I want to caution us, as a council, I don't think any of us in here think for a moment that at least two of these will be able to be funded. Hopefully I'm wrong on that, by our legislatures. I think it's going to have to be a joint effort. That's why I was hoping to have the 5 million from the Roswell Air Center in the top 10 to be able to encourage the governor with her money to be able to be a part of that, as we've been working towards that. So I guess I just have some reservations with this. So I yield, though.
All right, I have Councilor Foster, and that exhausts my list. Councilor Foster, you have the floor.
I just wanted, your reservations was that it, and we're not supposed to be talking back and forth, but the number 1 item that we have is the 5 million for the airport. That's the number 1 item, so it is in the top 5. It's in the top 10, but it's also in the top 5.
All right, we're not going back and forth, councilors. We're not going. Councilor Foster, you have the floor. Finish what you're saying. All right. At this point, I have no one else wishing to speak on this matter. I have Councilor Best. Councilor Best, you have the floor.
So I think my question is number 61 that is now 1. That is the 5 million to go along with the 5 million that the county has got, and if they get the other second 5 million, so that's going to make 15 million?
It,
It wasn't a trick question, honest.
Yeah, the Chavez County requested another 5 million on their list. The 5 million that we already received from last year, we're spending. They requested another 5 million on this ICIP, and now we've requested 5 million of our own. And so there is 10 million that is being requested for the Air Center between Chavez County and the city of Roswell.
Okay, so have we decided that we're going to all play in the same playpen? Do we have an MOU to them to play on our property, so forth and so on? Because I'm a little irritated that
Mayor,
now we're asking for
yeah.
5 million.
Yeah, Mayor, Councilor Best, we have not had any of those conversations on an MOU on the use of that money. I do know that some individual city councilors have met with some county commissioners and discussed it a little bit, but there is no specific detail as to how this relationship will work with this round.
So, okay, I just have a little bit of reservation now. I don't think my sticker was on that one particular, but that's okay. So now we're asking for 5 million in our first place seating, and we have no agreement with the county to play in the same playpen. So does that mean that we're going to take the airport expansion and infrastructure improvement 5 million if we get it and move away from them, join them, do something new?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, the 5 million for the city, and I think Councilor Roebuck talked a little bit about that. This is predominantly for building construction. We have 1.2 million square feet of property underneath roof out there at the Air Center. Between the conversation with Mike Espiritu and myself, the EDC, when we hit 70% capacity at the Air Center, we consider ourselves full. So we have over 300,000 square feet of space that we need to put under roof, whether it be a hangar, whether it be a warehouse, whatever it is. So the whole concept is to put more infrastructure out there because we haven't built anything new for a considerable length of time. We've been doing repairs to old stuff. And so the intent of this money, this $5 million that the city of Roswell is requesting from the legislator has nothing to do with Chavez County.
Thank you.
If that helps answer that
Well,
question.
it helps it a
It is
lot.
money that the city council wills. I would hope that the money that is being requested from Chavez County, that we develop out a better way of how to work with that if they're successful as well too. We appreciate the help, we appreciate the partnership. We just need to work closer together on this important asset.
I just wanted to make sure this money wouldn't sit in aside in case our pants are left down, in case they walk away from their project.
No,
I don't want to have to take care of that because that was
the
started by
facilities
them.
are our asset and it's important that we take care of it.
I know, silver tongue. Got it. Thank you.
All right, I have Foster, Kennard, and Roebuck on my list. Counselor Foster, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I am glad to see 2 fire stuff on our fire items on our top 5. I do want to make one statement, though. We have received 413 or 415,000
Yep, right at that.
a grant for the SCBA, so we really are only needing 500,000, which still I can't only. It's hard for me to say that, but we're still needing $500,000 for the SCBA. But it is something that's, I would actually rather see it as number 1 because it is the most important for our fire. But we will be getting it. So thank you.
All right, I have Counselor Kennard, Counselor Roebuck, and Counselor Perry. Counselor Kennard, you have the floor.
I just wanted to ask for the record, was the city notified or any counselors notified that the county was going to be requesting another 5 million before they did it?
I do believe that at the meeting, there had been individual city councilors. I cannot recollect which ones were there, but I know that over the last 3 months, up to the meeting where they set their list, I know there's been conversation back and forth. I just can't remember exactly which ones were involved with. I would say that the city was not involved outside of individual city councilors talking with individual county commissioners. There was no city councilor that spoke for the city either at any point in time. And so at least my understanding of where those conversations were. But I had, when it first hit the wire that they were considering it, I asked them to work a little closer to us via email and said, great, I appreciate the help. Let's talk about it. Let's bring the team together, both the council and the commissioners. And I believe that time got away from us.
Okay. It's disappointing after all of the conversations that we had over the past year, dealing with this very same issue again. Thank you. I yield.
For a note, I believe I sent an email, text message to you, Mr. Nebb, and Mr. Stark, and Mr. Christopher, when I first heard about this, asking if any city staff had been contacted by the county and discussed this $5 million request, and at the time, I was told no city staff was contacted. Is that not correct?
Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
All right, thank you. I have Councilor Roebuck and Councilor Perry. Councilor Roebuck, you have the floor.
Thank you. Just a clarification of the current infrastructure of the $5 million. I think roughly $2 million is being used to investigate and potentially create infrastructure expansion. We're looking at water lines, et cetera, on that. The city is not committed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe or our attorney, that we're not committed if that project goes over budget to fund it. We have not committed that. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Councilor Roebuck, that is correct. We have not committed any funds to that project. The intent of that project is to increase the water line from the new tank over to where AVEX is, where the old Mystic facility is. At this point in time, they are actually designing water, sewer, and they're looking at all of that. The intent is we expect that there's only enough money to move a water line over there based upon that $2 million.
Okay, thank you. My other statement is that as the chair of infrastructure, I've discussed with a couple of folks, but my plan is on this to invite the county commissioners or staff or both to an infrastructure meeting in short order now that we both made these requests to see if we can't get together, put our heads together, they come to an open meeting so we can discuss this out in the open and really work together. I think that we're all ready to turn a page on this, and I'm looking forward to the county coming and talking to us at an infrastructure committee meeting. Thank you. I yield.
And last one on my list is Councilor Perry. Councilor Perry, you have the floor. Councilor Perry?
I didn't hit the unmute button. I apologize. And also the ball fields in the amount of 12.3 is on the top 5.
No, sir. It is on the list now, but it is not in the top 5.
Okay, then I'm missing one. Please forgive me, and I'm trying to look, but it's very difficult to see on here. I've got the Air Center, Washington, the cemetery, the SCBA's, and what is the other one?
Air Center Fire.
The fire.
Excuse me, councilors. This is, I will repeat for Councilor Perry. Using the numbers from the original list, Councilor, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Item number 1 was on the original list, item number 61. Item number 2 on the original list was item 18. Item number 3 on the original list was item 63. Item number 4 on the original list was item 27, combined with item 29. And item number 5 was item 52 on the original list.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I ask what was 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10?
Can you share that, Mr. Fuentes? They are not on the resolution. Mr. Fuentes, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mayor, councilors, so item number 6, following the last item from the fire is item number 4, Convention Center LED lighting. Item number 7 is item number 48, adult center facility improvements. Item number 8 is item number 55, which is the police command post. The next item is item number 64, which is the recreation, the ball fields project. And item number 10 is item number 3, the convention center sewer line rehabilitation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I sure don't want to hold up if there's any other counselor who'd like to speak. After other counselors have given thoughts, I do plan to at least attempt in an amendment.
Okay, this is the time, Counselor. If you have an
no one
amendment,
else
offer it
desiring to
now.
speak? I'm sorry, I could not hear.
Counselor, you have the floor. I have no one else on my list. If you do not make an amendment, I will call for a vote.
I will be attempting at an amendment, Mr. Mayor. I'm putting all these in order here because I want to be kind to what's already been put in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to amend to be, well, I'm just going to explain what I think they should be at first and why. I think that the Air Center, though I'm a huge proponent of the $5 million, I think that I would well advise that that is not in the top 5, that it is in the top 10. I think we have to be realistic. I think that the firefighter, I'm 100% on board. I don't know that. I mean, well, I'll leave that one alone. I think the RIAC needs to move down. So, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to amend as following: removing the Roswell Air Center $5 million as number 1, and placing it now as number 7, which would then put in the order of the Washington rehab, 2, the cemetery, 3, the SCBAs, 4, the firefighter training, 5, convention center LED, 6, the adult center, 7, RAC, etc.
Okay. Ms. Call, are you comfortable that you know what Counselor Perry is proposing in his motion to amend? All right. Well, let's repeat this just for clarity. You're saying item number 1 becomes what off the original list, Counselor Perry?
I leave them in the order which council has determined that they like the best. So I'm leaving Washington as the top. 2 would be cemetery, 3 would be SCBA, 4 would be the firefighter.
Okay, Counselor. The items in order were 18, 63, 27, and 52. Are you keeping that as your top 4?
Well, I have to go back to this list. This is why this is so confusing. So I'm going, if we're going by numbers, it's going to take me a little longer, but that would be 18 streets, Washington Millville, in the amount of $740,000. Second, okay, I see now. I apologize because this is why it's so confusing. Second, I'm assuming, as I've written down, is 63.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll leave that as number 2 now. Number 3 would be the combination of 27 and 29.
Okay.
Number 4 is the SCBAs.
That is item 52.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then your item number 5 would be?
Convention Center LED, which is item number 4.
Okay. All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second by
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor Best. We have a motion and a second to amend the list on Resolution 21-57. Discussion or debate on the amendment.
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor, you still have the floor.
Okay, this is why I still feel it's critical that we still look at numbers 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
They are not in the, Counselor, they are not on the resolution. They are not on the wording of the resolution. This is on the resolution. There is 5 items listed. That's all that's on the resolution, and that is what was presented. Counselor, you still have the floor.
I will restrain myself. Go ahead.
Okay, I have Counselor Roebuck. Counselor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure that the $5 million request is a immediate disqualification from our legislators. Certainly, the county thought that number was realistic, and there's a lot of savvy politicians on that board. And certainly the state has made the allocation in the past, although it was the governor's money, not the legislators. So I don't think that the number itself should preclude it if it's an important thing, and certainly investing in our economy and jobs and probably our most important asset for growth seems to be a top priority. Thank you. I yield.
All right, anyone else on the amendment?
I just have a question.
Yes, Counselor Moore.
The question is I know they're type 5, they're on the, what do we call, on the thing, but all of them are going to be there. We're going to see them all. So why are we I'm sorry. I'm just struggling that it has to keep changing. They're all going to be on the next 5 are going to be on the list, right? Aren't they going to be on the paper that we turn in?
Yes, they will be an addendum to the resolution. But the resolution lists the top 5.
But where are the next 5 going to be?
All the rest will be on the list.
Yeah, Mayor, City Councilor, all the rest will be attached as an exhibit to this resolution.
But will
And
they be like way down at the bottom, or are the next 5 going to be listed the first
it
ones
won't
on
be,
our
it
list?
won't, it's not going to be listed out that way. All we're required to do is a top 5, and then everything else will go onto the back. I'm happy to take the next 5 and place them at the top of the list and just run down that list
Do we have to
based
have a
upon,
motion
so
for
that at least all the work that you guys did tonight can be recognized.
My point, do we have to have a motion for that, for the
No.
next 5 to be right on the
Yep.
first ones
Yeah,
on the
it's
list?
just a formatting for me is all it is.
All right, I yield, and that's all I'm.
All right. Anyone else on the motion to amend? Counselor Foster.
I think the process that we went through tonight is valid, and so I don't think that we need to change it. And I'm sorry, Counselor Perry, that you're uncomfortable with this, but this was how we voted, and so I think it should stand the way it is. I yield.
All right, I have no one else on my list. Ms. Call, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on the motion to amend. On the motion to amend, a yes or aye approves the amended, no, okay. Yes or aye approves the amendment, which changes the sequence. A no or nay rejects the amendment. Ms. Call, please call the roll.
Counselor Stubbs?
Yes.
Counselor Roebuck? No. Counselor Sanchez? Counselor Kennard?
Yes.
Counselor Best?
Yes.
Counselor Moore? Counselor Lopez?
No.
Counselor Oropesa?
No.
Counselor Perry?
Yes.
Counselor Foster?
No.
It's a tie vote.
No.
Motion fails.
We are back on the original list. Any further debate or discussion on the original motion, excuse me, on the original motion? Hearing none, seeing none, I will ask for a roll call vote for approval of Resolution 21-57 as originally listed. I will list the 5 projects again using the numbers on their original list. 61 in position 1, 18 in position 2, 63 in position 3, 27 and 29 combined on item 4, 52 as number 5. A yes or aye approves, a no or nay rejects. Ms. Call, please call the roll.
Counselor Stokes?
Yes.
Counselor Roebuck? Yes. Counselor Sanchez? Yes. Counselor Kennard?
Yes.
Counselor Best?
Yep.
Counselor Moore? Yes. Counselor Lopez?
Yes.
Counselor Oropesa?
Yes.
Counselor Perry?
No with explanation.
Counselor Foster?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-1.
Councilor Perry, you have the floor.
I just want to say, and I'll say this kindly, I just really hope that we will have 10 counselors and our mayor all working very vigorously with our legislatures to ensure that these top priorities are going to be seen through, because I think we've got our work cut out for us on this one for sure. From the number of years that I've been going up and talking with our legislatures, I think it's going to take all of us on this one. Thank you.
All right. And we're now on item number 3, Mr. Nebb.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, City Council, just a couple reminders, housekeeping items. On Thursday, we have a special Finance Committee workshop. We will be discussing the American Rescue Plan funding that we are receiving. We have received the first half of that. So it'll be a workshop to discuss potential projects at that point in time. It'll be at 9 o'clock at the Finance Committee. It'll be moving forward, I'm assuming, with that. One of the projects on there, and I noticed on the list as well too, it was the Convention Center sewer line between the 2 restrooms that had bellied out. We are intending to start that work this week, so I'm glad it did not rank in the top 5. Because I haven't told you about this yet, but the repair will run right at less than $15,000. We expect it to be around $13,000 and some odd change. That work is intended to start before the end of this week and complete before our next council meeting. That's the only reason we jumped on it the way we did. They will be removing the carpet between the 2 restrooms. They'll be digging down, taking out the line, replacing the line, and then we'll be putting the carpet back over the top of it as soon as the concrete recures. I just want to make sure you're aware of that, because we're going to get that work done before we reopen the convention center the way we all hope to open it. So,
All right. Councilor Kennard, you have a question on that?
Well, it's more of a statement. I just was wondering why it wasn't removed prior to the vote, because I wasted a vote on that one when I could have fought for whatever else I wanted, so.
I'm sorry.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Nebb?
No, sir.
I do have one person who signed up to speak on public participation, and it looks like the first initial E and the last name Michael, Michael. That person present? I am apparently not. All right. As there is no further actions to be taken tonight, it is 7:15.